A lot of people, when they go on vacation, they get sick. They get a cold or the flu or something because their body, fight or flight, has become normal. And then when the body tries to go into rest or digest, it's not ready. But those muscles have atrophied and the body fights it then, has a visceral reaction when it's then pushed into rest and digest.
Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany, the podcast where science meets wisdom. I'm Brittany Ford, holistic nutritionist, biohacker, and mom. And for years, I struggled with gut issues, hormonal imbalances, and the exhaustion of motherhood while running a business. Biohacking and functional medicine became my way back to clarity, vitality, and trust in my body. And that's why I'm here, not just to share information, but to share the practices and perspectives that truly shifted my health and my life. Each week, I bring you science-backed tools, honest conversations, and rituals I live myself so you can return to your own body's wisdom and create longevity on your own terms. Because your body already knows this is just the space to remember. Hello, and welcome back to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so excited that you are watching and listening today. This episode, I got to sit down with Dr. Holly Duckworth, who was incredible, honestly. I was very inspired by this interview. She has a PhD. She works in the holistic mental health space and also in the space, actually, of hypnosis. And she is the founder of Aware Care. She helps clients release subconscious limitations and reconnect the mind, the body, and the soul for deeper peace and clarity. And we did some really, really cool things in this. We talked about quantum healing and obviously hypnosis. We talked a lot about living in alignment with your life and your body and your soul and what that actually looks like. We also talked about working with other people and working with therapies and different modalities that can help you heal. We talked also about why you get sick on vacation and the nervous system and fight or flight versus rest and digest. And this was a very validating episode because I actually just released the nervous system protocol and stress protocol in my longer life community. So something I'm so proud of and so timely and so perfect for end of January, beginning of February. We're still kind of in that new year buzz. So enjoy this episode. We hopped over to my private community where she answered a bunch of your questions. So make sure you tune into that if you are in my community. If not, seriously, join us. $97 a month. And I do bi-weekly calls, private podcasts, protocols every other week or so, masterminds, all types of things in there, just so much content geared towards women's health and longevity. And I'm so excited for what's coming in the next couple months. It's going to be huge. Things are changing so much around here. And I'm so excited to just actually help women live longer and healthier and inspire them as well. And kind of work in this women's longevity and intuition space. So stay tuned for that. Please join us if you want. And I am so excited for my retreat. Oh my gosh, my retreat's in a month. I just realized that. Wow. There is one spot left. If you want to join us in Costa Rica, you are welcome to do that. I know there's some of you that have been talking to me about it. One spot left in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a very special place, very healing place. And if you are feeling called to be there with me, to focus on self-care and your health with other women just like you, it's the time to do it. So join me in Costa Rica, March 2nd to 7th. All the details are on my website. They're linked in the show notes everywhere, linked in my bio. You can send me a message, email, whatever you want, and we can connect. And I will catch you soon for another episode. We are doing episodes every Tuesday and Thursday right now. So stay tuned as everything continues to grow and more content comes out. See you soon. Dr. Holly Duckworth, welcome to the show. I was just kind of going through your bio and your background before just hopping on this call. And I'm super curious about some things that you do, and I'm gonna pick your brain.
Let's do it.
Let's start with you. How did you get into this work of hypnosis, higher self, soul grounding, gratitude, all of it? How did you get to that point?
Yeah. So my background is in mechanical engineering. Yeah. My background is in mechanical engineering. And um, so I came about this work the long way. So about 20 years into my engineering career, I figured out that kind of all of the engineering problems were people problems. So I started studying psychology. And I ended up getting my PhD in psychology in 2010. And I was doing a lot of things like executive coaching, leadership development, organizational culture, that kind of thing. And then in 2012, at the time, my 20-year-old son, he he was incarcerated for a DUI. And he was in like really super challenging situation, a scary kind of a incarceration situation for him. And I couldn't visit him. I could only have occasional phone calls. And in one of those phone calls, he said, "Hey, Mom, I found this great book I think you'd really like." And it was Dolores Cannon's Convoluted Universe Book 4. I'd never heard of Dolores Cannon, would have never heard of her. You know, I was buttoned up corporate type, not woo woo. And I got the book, Amazon click, click, not knowing what I was going to get into. And I started reading this book, and everything, Brittany, I ever believed in my entire life, there it was in print, and I'd never seen it in print before. So now I'm exploring, who is this woman? Who is this Dolores Cannon person, right? And so my son gets out of jail. She ended up having a weekend seminar shortly after that. So I told my son, I'm like, let's go see her. Because he was a fan too by the time this happened. So we went to one of her weekend seminars. Now, this whole time, again, engineering background, corporate type. At that point, I was a C-suite executive in learning and development. And I'm thinking, I loved her writing, I loved her spiritual work, but I'm thinking, this hypnosis thing, that's not going to work for me. That's for those other people. But I still wanted to be in the room with her because I had so much respect for her research. So we go to the seminar, and she would put 200 people into hypnosis simultaneously. That's kind of what her seminars were about, having all of this spiritual exploration via hypnosis. And I drop into a past life that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt was not my imagination. I mean, I could literally smell the bacon cooking in this other life. Okay. Profound experience. Yeah. And I'm like, that's it. I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I'm doing this. This is way too powerful, beyond what I had ever been taught to do in my PhD program. And I never looked back. And that was February 2013. So we're now 13 years in.
Wow. What a story, and what a way to be exposed to a whole new world through such unreal circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and my son and I mean, he's a great kid today. He's a professional, and we laugh about it now, and we go, he says, "Mom, that's the only reason I had to go to jail was so that you could find Dolores Cannon." And I'm like, "I know. Thank you. Thank you."
Oh, the sacrifice. Nice. Yeah. So then you started, I guess, like moving into this work in order to help people, I guess, like reach their highest potential. Like kind of like take us through, connect the dots
Mhm.
for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I started doing these deep, deep, deep hypnosis sessions. A QHHT session is 5 to 7 hours. I spend the entire day with one client. So I get to know them really well. They're in an altered state of consciousness for 2 to 3 hours in a QHHT session. And so I got to understand all of this universal wisdom. We're communicating with what we call the higher self in a QHHT session, which if you can think about oversoul, superconsciousness, whatever word you want to apply to it, but it's the fountain of universal wisdom. And so I had a front row seat to the universe and universal wisdom. And so that was kind of how my 3 books came about, was just all of this universal wisdom coming to me, and then me wanting to just shout from the mountaintops, I know what your purpose is. I know how to forgive. I know how important gratitude is to our soul growth. And so that's the 3 books in the trilogy. And then from a psychotherapy standpoint, I just wanted to work with the subconscious. Whatever avenues I could work with from a subconscious standpoint, I saw the power of that. And so then my psychotherapy practice kind of branched out into lots of different avenues, working specifically with the subconscious. That's exclusively what I work with.
Nice. Yeah, so cool. I'd love for you to kind of unpack a bit more about what you mean by like highest self. Like I feel like that's actually thrown around a lot now. Like I see it a lot in like meditations, and even breath work of like channeling your highest self. So what does that actually mean? And what do you think is possible there, even just within like a daily meditation practice for the average person?
Yeah. So I'm going to bring this back to science, okay? My scientific background. So I teach a course called Higher Self Journey, where people learn to access their higher self in their waking moments so that they don't have to be in an altered state of consciousness. And so the way I teach people, the way we start on this higher self journey, is to kind of really simplify the human psyche and to 2 parts, the ego self and the higher self. Okay. And if we want to understand the ego self is a part of our animal instinct, as part of, we're a primate, we're an animal, and we've evolved to have this ego self. And if we think about it, the human animal in the wild is a pretty pathetic animal. We're really squishy. We don't have claws. We don't have sharp teeth. We can't run very fast. Like we're really pretty pathetic as animals. And so we've evolved to have the ego self. We needed that to survive. And what the ego self is the part of us that is hypersensitive to danger and risk. And it had to be to even survive. Well, think about it. If your entire purpose is to be hypersensitive to danger and risk, then your language is fear. And so every time we're operating from a place of fear, which we need to at times to keep ourselves alive, fear is important. It helps make sure that we're fed and we're housed and we're clothed but in modern society, usually those are givens. We usually are clothed and housed and fed. And so then that fear energy, that fear reflex, that part of our psyche that is hyper attuned to fear gets a little dysregulated, okay, becomes a little not very helpful. But it needs something to do. It needs that, we still have that hypervigilance. So the ego self is kind of like the guard dog. All right. And so in order to reach the higher self, which is the eternal part of you, the aspect of you that knew what you were going to experience before you came into the incarnation, that will be present after the incarnation, but is also present in the incarnation, that aspect of you can be reached, but we have to bridge out of that fear energy, that fear experience. And so we use gratitude to do that, because you can't be in a state of fear and a state of gratitude simultaneously. So we teach people how to use gratitude to momentarily release the ego self so that we can access the higher self, so that we can tap into this universal knowledge. And then that's also where we tap into healing energy. That's where we tap into healing from emotional experiences or traumatic experiences. And so that's the higher self. We can think about it. If we think about the opposite of it, it's the part of us that isn't attached to fear.
I would love to invite you to be a part of my new private online women's health and longevity community called the Longer Life Community. This is a space where I do bi-weekly calls with everyone live on Zoom. So these Q&As are where you can pre-submit questions or even come up live on the call and ask all of your health questions. I also do private podcasts where all of the guests who come on this very show hop into my private community and answer your pre-submitted questions. And I do protocols. Right now, I'm releasing one protocol a week, and these range from my latest women's longevity workout protocol to peptides, morning routine, hormone replacement therapy, everything like that. These are deep in research. What is the latest thing that everyone is saying, what you need to know, and has the PDF so you can download it, keep it on your computer, phone, or even print it. This community has so much content, but honestly, the best part is that there's so many women in there. It's a live, vibrant community where women are answering questions daily, talking to each other, and participating. And we all get to meet every other week. I really invite you to join. It's only $97 a month. This is so cheap. It is so affordable. I literally spend more on skincare probably in a week. And I wanted to create a place where we can all come together, talk about women's longevity and intuition. There is no other place like this on the internet. I am very serious. There's no other place where you can talk about living in alignment with yourself and your values, big life decisions around relationships and work and where you want to move and live, and also find protocols that are about your health, that are tailored to you as a woman. Not men, but you as a woman. There are moms, there are grandmas, there are women in there without kids. This is a space and a community for women built by women. And I invite you to join us. Again, $97 a month. If you pay for the year, it's actually $970. So you get 2 months for free, which is so affordable. So I really want to extend my invite to you. Join us. There's so much content daily, weekly. Soon we're going to be doing challenges. We're going to be doing all sorts of things, themes. And I also announce special things in there before anywhere else. So like my VIP one-on-one consulting and my retreats and immersions and things like that. I would love to have you to join us. It is linked on my website. It's in my bio and it is in the show notes of every single episode. Just go click and join us. And I will see your beautiful face on our next community call. Right. I love that. It's actually such funny timing. Yesterday, I was doing a meditation and like a visualization practice in the morning. Like it wasn't very long, but I was inhaling like abundance, success, my goals, and I like visualized myself in like sparkles, gold, diamonds, just like this whole visualization thing kind of came into my brain. It was really interesting. And then I was exhaling all these different emotions and I kind of went through all the emotions of like anger, frustration, irritation, whatever. And every time I inhaled, exhaled, like new things came up. And at the end of it, that I exhaled fear. Like I realized that fear was like the core. Once I kind of stripped away all of the other emotions that I was feeling of like, I'm afraid of losing this or moving this or being this, right? And it was really powerful. And it was just like you're saying, like, it was actually so quick that it came through.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's like that for everybody, but like, yeah, it was a very powerful practice. And I just sat with myself and it came through. So like, I don't know, like how does it usually come through for the average person? Like, do they need to sit down and be in their body in order for them to like release the fear, or how does it work?
Sometimes, yes. However, most of the clients that come to me, we're starting with that fear energy. We can think about it as a technical term would be a trauma response. And trauma, when we use the technical term, not the pop culture term of trauma, that can be anything. Like even the birth process, something that we have not even in our memory. at all can create a trauma response in the physical body. Okay. So for most people, when we start working with releasing that fear, what we're actually working with is trauma energy stored in the body. So we have to heal the physiology before we start healing the psychology. Okay. This trauma response is a nervous system state in the body. It's physiology. Okay. And I use a sound therapy called Safe and Sound Protocol or Rest and Restore Protocol, which were created by Dr. Stephen Porges, who is the creator of the term polyvagal theory. So we're working with the vagus nerve to retune the nervous system to take that fear response, that trauma response out of the physical body. There's no neuroplasticity if our brain is stuck in fight or flight or freeze and seize, right? And so we have to heal that part before we can start working with the psychology to where you are already with your breath work to be able to recognize the emotional state of fear to then be able to release that.
So how would you know, like listening to this, like how would you know if you have those like traumatic responses stuck in your body? Like even me, like listening to this, I'm like, I probably have those. How
Yeah.
would I know?
There's a really, really simple checklist, a diagnostic checklist that we use as a therapist to determine if the nervous system is dysregulated. But just in general, usually it's the symptoms are exhibited as a lot of hypersensitivity. So hypersensitivity to sound, hypersensitivity to tactile sensations. Even situations where if someone listening, if you're the person that always has to sit in the front seat of the car because you easily get car sick. So vestibular hypersensitivity, hypersensitivity to taste. That's generally what we're looking for. Those are classical symptoms of nervous system dysregulation. But it can also be emotional responses. For example, road rage. Road rage isn't, to me, as a psychotherapist, an anger response. That's nervous system dysregulation. So inexplicable triggers for emotional responses that can also be a symptom of nervous system dysregulation.
Yeah. You know what I notice is with myself is like if I drop my water bottle and it's really loud and I find it overstimulating, then I know that I'm like not regulated. Like for example,
Yeah.
right? Or if you like stub your
Yep.
toe and you like really freak out or
Yep.
get frustrated, it's like, oh, this isn't about stubbing my toe. It's like I am not in a regulated space right now.
Exactly. You got it. You got it. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. And what a lot of people will do, Brittany, is they'll, you know, if they're really obviously if they're listening to you, they're into self-care and they'll go to a therapist, right? They'll hook up with one of the apps, for therapy, or they'll find a local therapist. But the problem with that is your brain, you can't learn new things unless you're in a regulated state, unless your nervous system is regulated. And so people go to therapy and they're like, this isn't doing anything for me. Why isn't this working? It isn't going to work because you can't learn new things about yourself, much less the world, if your nervous system is dysregulated. So we have to approach the physiology first.
Right. So say, people listening to this are like, okay, every little thing bugs me every single day. Like I'm frustrated, you know what I mean? Um, where do we start? Like, how do we drop in? Is it as
Yeah.
simple as just gratitude and like naming 3 things you're grateful for in the moment? Or like, how do we just start to get back to like rest and digest in the moment?
Yeah. So the therapy that I provide called Safe and Sound Protocol. So the way I liken it is imagine that you sprained your wrist. Okay. You didn't break it. It's just, but it's a pretty bad strain, and they're going to put you in a brace for a couple of weeks. And then the day comes and you get the brace off. The worst thing you can do is go pick up 50 pounds with that wrist, right? The muscles have atrophied, ligaments, tendons have atrophied. And if you go overuse that wrist in that moment, you risk injuring it even worse than it was ever injured in the first place, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the physical therapist. First, we're going to do some range of motion. Then we're going to do some light weights. Then we'll do some heavier weights, right? There's a progression as we rebuild that atrophied joint. Okay. Your nervous system is the same way. And so what Safe and Sound Protocol is, it's a listening therapy, but it's actually a vagus nerve stimulator within the music. You listen to a small dose of music every day for 16 weeks. So a tiny dose of exercise, if you will, for your nervous system. And what it is it's stretching your nervous system into that rest and digest nervous system state. It's like going to the gym for your nervous system. And so we do little tiny doses, very gently, but for a very long period of time, very consistently. And then that rebuilds your body, because so many people that have had traumatic experiences in their life, they've gotten stuck in fight or flight or stuck in freeze, and then their body's ability to return back to rest and digest has atrophied. And the worst thing we can do is like suddenly push the body into rest and digest, into a different nervous system state that it isn't used to, because we get almost like a backlash from the nervous system. So in a super, super gentle way, but consistent over a very long period of time, we rebuild the body's muscle, if you will, to be able to fluidly return back to that state.
Yeah, I would love to try that.
Let's
I
do
feel
it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I would be so interested in doing that. Like, especially as a new mom, like I work from home, I have my baby, and there's just so much constant stimulation.
Mhm.
Um, and I know so many moms feel like that of like, I'm fried. There's no time for me. All I do is take care of everything around me. And I think over time, you get so used to being in that state,
Yep.
you don't even really remember what it's like to be completely relaxed and chill unless you're like on a beach on vacation.
Right. And sometimes even then, we there's all sorts of studies that show that a lot of people, when they go on vacation, they get sick. They get a cold or the flu or something. Yeah, because their body fight or flight has become normal. Okay. And then when the body tries to go into rest or digest, it's not ready. Those muscles, I keep saying muscles, that's not even, we know that that's just an analogy. But those muscles have atrophied, and the body fights it then, has a visceral reaction when it's then pushed into rest and digest. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's happened a few times to my husband where we're finally on vacation or whatever, and he gets sick or he gets a
He
migraine
gets
or
sick.
like
Mhm,
whatever
mhm.
it is. And it's like he's running on so much cortisol and adrenaline every single day. And then when that's suddenly reduced, the immune
Right.
system like is just
Absolutely.
responds to anything
It's
and boom, he's sick.
absolutely. It's just like having that sprained wrist and going and picking up 50 pounds the day you get the brace off. That is not a good. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think the sound course sounds incredible. Things that I do right now that help is like I have a gratitude journal that I write in
Mhm,
for a few minutes every day. We try to do gratitude in my house a lot. So, like, before we go
mhm.
to sleep, me and my husband will say something like a gratitude or a compliment to each other. So, like, thank you today for doing this type of thing. Like, or
Mhm,
yeah, we just try to bring more positivity in and notice the good things throughout the day.
mhm.
Um,
Yep.
And then we also started this new practice. I got it from this book called The Gap versus the Gain. And essentially at dinner, whoever's at dinner with us, we each name one win from that day. So it could be anything, like I had a great podcast episode, or I had a great workout, or whatever. And then you say the win that you hope for the next day, right? So it's like, okay, tomorrow, like, what's my goal? Like, how do I win? Like, and so we've, like, in our house, we're just trying to make a pattern of gratitude and positivity, because like you said, if we're using that language, we can't be frustrated in those moments. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's like, how do
Exactly.
you build that into your family? Yeah.
The other thing you're doing well, Brittany, is when we talk about the physiology of the nervous system, of releasing ego self, is the breath work. The breath work. And the most important part for your listeners, the most important part of breath work, specifically to trigger the rest and digest activation, it's called a ventral vagal nervous system response, technically. But the way we trigger that with breath work is with an extended and intense exhale. Okay. So that vagus nerve is down in your diaphragm, in your lower torso, in your belly, and really pushing that exhale, really pushing a really, really strong exhale triggers that entire vagus nervous system into rest and digest. Okay. Because think about it. If you're a cave woman running away from a saber-toothed tiger, you can't take a big breath and a big exhale if you're running from the tiger, right? And so that big squeezy exhale tells the nervous system, hey, there's no tiger. We're good. We're good here. Yeah. So your breath work is helping your nervous system regulation too.
This episode is brought to you by Optimize Her, my women's biohacking retreat in Costa Rica, happening March 2nd to 7th, 2026. I am so excited, guys. This isn't just another yoga retreat. It's a 5-night, 6-day, science-backed health optimization woven into feminine restoration, designed specifically for women's bodies. We'll dive into functional medicine and longevity tools, experience healing sessions like sound baths and cacao ceremonies, and recalibrate with daily movement, spa rituals, and farm-to-table meals that support hormones, gut health, and vitality. It's not about fixing. It's about clearing the noise so you can actually tune into your body again. If you're ready for deep restoration and transformation, you can explore all the details in the show notes, and I would absolutely love to see you in Costa Rica. Yeah. Yeah, I've always, so many people have said that, like the exhale should always be longer than the inhale. So even if you do like 4 beats on an inhale, then 6 beats on, 4 or 6 counts on an exhale, anything like that. And what I also do now is I put my hands on my body in different places. So like my heart in my belly or my womb or whatever. And that really helps me too, because it gets me out of my head and into my body so much faster. So it's like that direct contact of like, here, I'm present. Okay. Like shoulders drop, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you see? I'm so curious, like in terms of the women that you work with, do you see any specific patterns that you're like, again and again, this is what I see in women, especially in today's world?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this guy here doesn't help, right? That addiction to dopamine, right? And a lot of times what that can be is people are, it literally is an addiction. And a lot of addictions, whether it's substance or dopamine via the Instagram feed, is an attempt to regulate your nervous system, right? To an attempt to soothe a dysregulated nervous system, either with a substance or with the dopamine. And of course, that's not going to be helpful, because we think, oh, I'm just going to grab my phone, play a little game here, or do a little scrolling and relax. And over and over and over and over and over again, there are studies that show that is not relaxing our brain waves, not the way breath work or sound healing or, gratitude journals or other meditation can do for our nervous system. In fact, it's perpetuating that dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel that, like, even when I'm having a rough day or bad moment, whatever, I'll be like, oh, let me go on TikTok, because I know it's going to make me feel better and give me that like dopamine hit that I'm looking for, and
Yeah.
coming out of breath work or meditation or yoga or journaling or anything like that, you don't have that dopamine release. Like, I should know this, and I'll probably look it up after this. I wonder if it is more oxytocin. Like, I actually wonder if the hormone signaling is different.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely. Absolutely it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah, because I don't feel that like little high that I get when I'm online shopping, also, by the way, or I'm on social
Yes.
media.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And we use it as a distraction, but we need to start thinking about it. It's the same way an alcoholic uses alcohol as a distraction or as a means of self-medicating a dysregulated nervous system. It is.
Yeah. And then the question becomes like, why are you so dysregulated? Right? Like, okay, so like we
Right.
realize that
Exactly.
you're putting on these band-aids to kind of mediate what's going on. And so then it's like, okay, so I'm dysregulated. Okay, now I need to regulate. But it's like, why are you dysregulated? And honestly, it's just like,
Exactly.
sadly, it's like a product of our society and our lifestyle a lot of the time, right? And so to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
regulated adult today in Northern society or North American society, I just feel like it's an uphill battle. Unless you think I'm wrong, which it could be the case, but
Yeah.
it feels like a daily challenge of like, I'm not going to overwork, I'm not going to overstimulate, I'm not going to eat too much or drink too much or be addicted to X, Y, and Z, right? Like, there's all these things every single day.
Right. One of the things we have to realize, and this is why I work exclusively with the subconscious modalities, is that a lot of people have gaslit themselves into thinking that their trauma wasn't trauma. And most trauma happens at a very, very young age. We're talking about physiological, the trauma that's in the nervous system, okay? Whether that was, you were bullied on the playground when you were 6, or, your parent did sleep training when you were 2, or whatever sort of, trauma response that your body might have been exposed to, you might not be aware of it, or you might not have considered it trauma, okay? Because either society gaslighted you into thinking it wasn't trauma, it was normal, or you did it. You gaslit yourself to say it wasn't trauma. So when we start working with the nervous system, there's no judgment of you're having a trauma response. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You didn't do anything. It's not anybody's fault, but we need to address it. Okay. And it isn't even necessarily that it could have been pre-verbal. It could be it's not even in your memory banks, but yet it's in your body. Okay. So once we get regulated, okay, now how do we stay regulated in modern society? Okay. So one of the things, it's back to the gratitude. So one of the examples that I like to give my clients is simple, silly little example. But imagine you're going to the grocery store. And if you're like me, you're like, okay, I only need 2 items. I'm not going to get a basket or a buggy because I just need this and this. And then you get into the grocery store and you're like, oh, wait a minute. I need some of that. And I need some of that. And I need some of that. By the time you're at the checkout line, you got 17 things in your arms, right? And the line's long. And now you're getting angry and frustrated and people are chit-chatting with the cashier and you're just like, are you freaking kidding me? Hurry up, people, right? And now you've just put yourself into a state of fear. because fear has lots and lots of disguises, right? Of course, anger and jealousy, we can think of those. But also impatience and boredom are fear, okay? They're fear. So here I am in this line, very impatient because my arms are tired. I got somewhere to go. The line's long. I didn't get a buggy. And now I'm in a fear response. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to live my life in fear. I don't want to send my body into fight or flight and dysregulation. What am I going to do? Gratitude. So standing there in the grocery store line, I can go, oh my gosh, I get to share all of this food with my family. I have the resources. Like, I'm going to swipe my card, not even think twice about buying all of this food. Are you kidding me about the abundance? I had 5 different kinds of yogurts to pick from. Like, what kind of abundance is this? Right? And so I can begin to generate gratitude in myself. And then that helps release the fear. And so if we have this kind of practice, sitting in traffic, bored in a meeting, yada, yada, pull in that gratitude in that moment, we're constantly re-regulating our nervous system, getting out of that fear response. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, my husband and I, we had a date morning, coffee morning today. And we were having this talk. We're considering like moving south, like one of these countries that we're in from Canada. Multiple reasons, don't have to go into it. But and we just started talking about how difficult it is as a millennial to kind of like get ahead, right? Like compared to our parents. And so we kind of went through all of these things of like all the finances and the job opportunities and the work and having a kid. And then I was telling him about the pressure that I feel as a woman to like have a kid, have a career, have another kid, make all this money, like all of these things. And we had this huge rant session. And honestly, it felt really good to rant. Like it did. It felt really good to be like, the systems and the structures that we are in are unfair, blah, blah, blah. This is not cool. Like we've had to sacrifice so much, blah, blah, blah. And while we were going through it, and it was helpful in a way, it was also just like in my head of like, when are we going to flip it and like actually look at everything that we have going for us? Right? Like, how long can we stay in this zone of like scarcity and fear, like you're talking about? And like, I just wonder when you're having those discussions and you need to like rant and work through those emotions, like, is there a place of, let me just get this out and then we can talk about the positive? Like, how do you balance that when you're having real life discussions like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the goal is not to never go into fight or flight, right? The ego's there evolutionarily for a reason, like literally to keep us alive. And there are moments, if I'm standing on a busy street corner and there's city buses going by, I want my fight or flight forefront, right? Because I do not want to step out in front of a bus, right? And so it's very okay to recognize when our ego self is driving our nervous system into fight or flight. Now, we haven't talked a lot about freeze and seize, which is also an evolutionary response of complete shutdown. And this is because as animals, we're mammals, and we're both predator mammals and prey mammals. And if you've ever studied a prey mammal, they have this unique nervous system response of passing out, of fainting, when their nervous system perceives that death is imminent. Okay. And we still do this in our modern lives. And that's shutdown. That's the isolation. It's like, I'm not going to socialize. I'm going to go to bed and pull the covers over my head. I'm going to completely shut down. And we see a lot of this in our society as well. The people that aren't motivated to get out of the race, often their nervous system response can be shut down. Freeze and seize, we call it. Dorsal vagal nervous system response. It's the vagus nerve as well. It has an evolutionary meaning. And so it's okay for our body. What we actually want is our body to fluidly move between these nervous system states in a way that's accurate to our environment, right? If death is imminent, by golly, I want that dorsal vagal nervous system response. If I should be afraid of a bus running over, by golly, I want that fight or flight response in my body. But if I'm clothed and housed and fed, I can use my gratitude to recognize that I can be in rest and digest. Yeah. And so exercising these other nervous system states isn't terrible. It's actually good for the nervous system. It's therapeutic for the nervous system. But we want to then return to that rest and digest.
Yeah. Yeah. And
which is exactly what you guys did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we still need to finish the discussion, but I was thinking about it. But yeah, it's very easy to get caught up in like the negative. And some people, I don't know what it is, but some people really like to be in that negative space. Like, have you ever heard about, well, I'm sure you have, like Debbie Downers, and how like Debbie Downers like to surround themselves with Debbie Downers and like just pull other people down with them? Like, what is happening there when it comes to nervous system? And like, why is that like a thing?
It's the exact same phenomenon that you were just talking about with the mom who's trying to do everything, is living in fight or flight, is high on cortisol, and doesn't even know it. From her perspective, it's normal, right? And so the Debbie Downer is down in that dorsal vagal nervous system response, that shutdown, that freeze and seize. And it's so patterned, she doesn't even realize that her nervous system is dysregulated. She doesn't even see the potentiality for a different nervous system response.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I have a couple friends who are like that. And I'm always very wary when I hang out with them of like the language that we use. And honestly, like it actually makes me kind of distance myself a little bit because I just can't have that doom and gloom too much, because then I just get trapped in it, and it messes with my mental health for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things, I mean, for anyone listening, I don't know if this is appropriate with you and your Debbie Downer friends, but go to a breathwork session together. Like, open their eyes to the fact that their nervous system can feel a different response. So this isn't about talking or thinking or rationalizing. This is about having the physical experience of not being in that nervous system state. And you might just awaken your friend to a potentiality that they had no idea was even available to them.
Yeah. Yeah. My one friend, who I know about this, she's actually coming on my retreat. We're doing a retreat in Costa Rica. And it's like a women's health optimization retreat. And there's a lot of breath work. There's a lot of yoga, and there's a lot of like, there's going to be a lot of like activations and reflections. And like, I'm so happy she's coming, but she has no idea. I'm excited to see her transformation.
Right.
I'm curious what you think the role of nature has in this, because as you're speaking, I'm trying to think about when I feel fried. Some things that I like to do is like I like to go sit outside in the sun or put my feet in water. And I'm just curious, like from your research and what you know, can we do something quickly like that will just like bring us down? That's not breath work. And I mean, maybe we do it both at the same time, but yeah.
Yeah. So clearly, I mean, scientifically, grounding is a thing. Like, needing your bare skin to touch the face of the earth is important. We're starved of electrons. This is totally physiology too. This is not psychology. But our bodies get starved of electrons because we're always in rubber-soled shoes. We're always inside. And the only way our body physiologically can revive itself electrically, we're electrochemical beings, is to physically touch the ground. So a lot of people will feel an enormous amount of healing just because now they have electrons in their body. all of those neurotransmitters can now work because they're all electrochemical. And their electrical systems may have been dysregulated just because of not being grounded. So that's one thing about nature. The other thing that really retunes our nervous system in nature is, think about this. Inside or in a cityscape, everything is scaled to human size. The doors, the buildings, the windows, the sidewalks are built for the human scale. And we're actually, from a nature standpoint, these teeny little minuscule specks in comparison to nature as a whole. And so when you walk outside, suddenly the scale changes. I mean, think about me recognizing my scale with respect to the sky or even a tree, right? Or much less the ocean. And so when we perceive of things that are so much larger than ourselves, that brings us back to an appropriate perspective of ourselves. It's not so grandiose, right? Which also releases the ego self a little bit to go, yeah, you're not really that important. Look at the size of that ocean. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's actually something I've never thought about with perspective. And even like looking at the background that you have right now of the trees and how tall those trees would be is like, oh yeah, we are really small, right? We are little. Something that I've been doing here in Nicaragua is I've been surfing, and the ocean is incredible here. But I've been finding it very healing for my nervous system. And obviously there's multiple things going on when you're at the beach, when you're in the ocean. But what's so interesting about surfing is that you literally cannot think about anything else. Like if you are looking at the ocean, waiting for the wave, and you see a wave coming and you're turning your board and you're about to like hop up and you're paddling, you can't think like, I'm stressed about work or what are we having for dinner or blah, blah, blah. Like you just can't. And it's so nice.
Right.
I'm like obsessed with it. I'm like, oh, I get a break and I just get to focus on catching a wave, because if I don't catch the wave, I'm going to fall and I'm going to be underwater. So it's literally, I'm forced to take a break from thinking about everything. And I don't know, man, it just feels the best. It feels so good.
Yeah. 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 Very good. Very good. Yes.
And then I guess also when we talk about things like the ocean or people even going on vacation, or like people love like long walks on the beach, it's like there's actually so many negative ions that are coming from that, like with the water moving, or even when there's rainfall. Like I don't know if you've noticed, like after rainfall, if you go outside, it feels so nice. Like that's the negative ions in your body's electrically being recharged.
Yes. We forget that we're animals. And we have to remember that we're animals and the animal needs taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this has been incredible. We are going to hop into my private community, The Longer Life, and you're going to answer some questions from my members. Before we do that, where can people find you and how can they connect with you?
Yeah. So I want to put a shout out to the trilogy. So there's 3 books. They're all available at Amazon, Audible, Kindle, all the ways. So it's Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self, Finding Forgiveness, Surprising Healing from the Higher Self, and Finding Gratitude, Surprising Growth from the Higher Self. And they're intended to be read in that way. It's an expose of many, many, many QHHT sessions and the wisdom that comes through in those. And it's all about the spiritual path and how to walk that spiritual path through purpose, forgiveness, and gratitude.
I love that. Can you send me your books or I'll buy them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Send me your snail mail address wherever you are and I'll get them to you.
Yeah. When I'm back in Canada, I would love to read those. It just sounds like, honestly, exactly like the medicine that I need and my community needs. I will link that in my bio, in the show notes and on my website so everyone can find you. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're going to hop into my community and let's answer some questions. Thank you for listening to Biohacking with Brittany. I hope today's conversation gave you something to take into your own life, a practice, a perspective, or simply a reminder to trust your body. If you love this episode, please leave a review, share it with someone else who could benefit, and join me over on Instagram at biohackingbrittany for more. And if you're ready to go deeper, you can explore my retreats, community, favorite tools, all linked for you in the show notes. Until next time, remember, your body already knows.